What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel. The 2019 schedule for Penn State turned out to be not too bad, but tougher than maybe they expected before the season because of that Minnesota game on the road. That Minnesota game wound up making them have 2 losses because they also lost to Ohio State. If Minnesota wasn't as good as they turned out to be, or they didn't play Minnesota last year, this Penn State team could have been 11-1 and could have been in the conversation at least for a college football playoff spot. I don't know that they would have made it in. They might have made it in over Oklahoma. They played Pitt in the non-conference. They were able to beat Michigan, go on the road and beat Iowa. So it was a pretty solid year for Penn State last year. Well, how about the 2020 schedule? Does it get easier? Does it get tougher? Let's take a look at it, and here you go. They open up the year with Kent State at home on September the 5th. And then they'll go on the road for what is, I think, an underrated non-conference game. You don't really hear a lot of people talking about this one, but it's Penn State going on the road to play Virginia Tech. I've got Virginia Tech as a top 25 team this year. I think they're going to be a very solid team, and that is a tough place to play. So we'll see if Penn State can pass that early test. It could be a tricky game for them. So watch for that one in week 2. Then on September 19th, they'll play San Jose State at home. They'll play all 3 non-conference games, get those out of the way, and then start their conference schedule on September 26th against Northwestern. Northwestern obviously was bad last year. Let's just put it that way. They were bad. And Penn State gets them at home, so they should be able to take care of business there. An early October test for this Penn State team is going to be on the road at Michigan on October the 3rd. That will be a challenge. Michigan is a team that Michigan's going to be pretty good. They're going to be a top 15, top 20 team at least. We don't know if they're going to be a top 10 team, a top 5 type team. At this point, it's tough to say. So I think that's a winnable game for Penn State. Even though it's on the road, it'll be a challenge for sure. But I think they have a real opportunity to win that game. And then it's Iowa after a bye week. They'll get a bye week between Michigan and Iowa here. So a pretty good spot for that bye week. Maybe you'd like to have it that next week before Ohio State. But that's where they'll get their bye week. They'll have Iowa at home. Iowa, I'm expecting to be not quite as good as they were last year, plus the game's at home for Penn State. So you like their odds in that game. And then on October 24th, could be the game of the year in the Big Ten. Could be the game that determines the Big Ten East. Penn State will host Ohio State. And Penn State played Ohio State tougher than almost anyone in the Big Ten last year, besides maybe Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. Penn State gets this game at home. It'll probably be a wideout. It'll be a chance for them to, if they win that game, they're going to have a really, really good shot at winning the Big Ten East. I know Michigan is always kind of in that conversation, but can Michigan get through this thing with just one loss? I don't know. So Penn State, Ohio State, I think the biggest game of the year in the Big Ten on October the 24th. And after that, this is going to be a tricky game, really a tricky 2-game stretch here of road games. On Halloween, October 31st, Penn State goes on the road to play Indiana. Indiana's a team that's going to be pretty good this year. They surprised last year, and they have a lot coming back. Watch for this game to be sneaky. Right after that Ohio State game, you can't have a letdown, or there could potentially be a big upset there. Could Indiana be this year's Minnesota? I don't know. We'll see. And then after that, it's Nebraska. Nebraska, I think, is going to kind of take that next step this year, be a better team. I don't know that they'll be good enough to win this game, but it is at home for Nebraska, and so I think that will be a challenge for Penn State. So you look at that stretch really from Michigan to Nebraska. If they can get through those 5 games with no losses, that's saying something. And then after that, they'll play Michigan State at home. I like Penn State's chances in that game. Michigan State, I think, will be down a little bit this year. They lost a lot. Maryland, probably not too big of a challenge there on November 21st. And then Rutgers to close it out on November 28th on the road. So those last 3 games, I feel pretty good about Penn State. And those first 4 games, I feel pretty good. Although the Virginia Tech game could definitely be tricky. It's the middle of the schedule for Penn State. It's Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana, Nebraska. 3 of those games on the road. That is what is going to determine Penn State's season this year. If they lose to Virginia Tech early in the year, it's going to be really tough for Penn State to bounce back and make a run at the college football playoff, in my opinion. If they win out, they probably still get there, though, because they'd have a win over Ohio State, and they would obviously win the Big Ten championship. But that's going to be a game that could really derail their momentum, and just getting through the rest of the schedule, getting through all the Big Ten games without a loss is also going to be hard. So that Virginia Tech game could wind up being a huge game for Penn State early in the season. So who do they play out of the West? They'll play Northwestern, they will play Iowa, they will play Nebraska, and they will play, who are we missing here? Northwestern, well, that's all. There's 3 games, sorry. 3 games, Northwestern, Iowa, Nebraska. Out of the West, they don't draw Minnesota this year. They don't draw Wisconsin. So all in all, the schedule is not bad. Yes, it's one of the tougher, probably 5-game stretches there in the middle of the season if you compare that with the other teams. But overall, the Penn State schedule is pretty tough, but not horrible, and it sets up in a way that I think could make them a college football playoff contender in 2020. Thank you for watching this video. If you're a Big Ten football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in Big Ten football, keep it right here.